Hey everybody, welcome back to Extra Time. Act 2, he's back. Of course, it's David Beckham. He was in the house on Saturday night for the Super Classico, which is LA Galaxy 1. And on Thursday, he makes his return to the field for the Galaxy in a big game against New York. Every time they play the Red Bulls, it's a huge thing. Now, we're going to talk a lot about David and his return in a little bit. But first, I do want to just mention Seattle. This is a team that they had a little bit of a down period, and they've started to come back up. They got a huge win against Houston, 2-1 over the weekend. Freddie Montero now has 5 goals in his last 5 games. Very impressive. They've started to come out of that swoon, if you will.
I don't think there's any question. When I look at this Seattle team, from Casey Keller in goal to the back line, to the midfield, to the players up front, I think they're a quality team. They did have that little bit of a dip during the season, but when they have Jaquez and Freddie Montero and Lundberg playing as a trio up top, they have Casey Keller in goal, I think they're a very strong team.
Yeah. Do you think that they're a contender? I mean, we were talking a little bit before. Are they a contender for the MLS Cup?
I think they're definitely a contender for MLS Cup. I mean, what they've done and the team that they've put together wasn't an expansion team. It's not an expansion team. I mean, very little about them, except for the fact that I think they're a little weak at outside back. They've, we've talked about that being their weak point. But the rest of the field, maybe they're not as deep as a team as you'd want, but they're playing pretty well. This last game they just played without Brad Evans or Alonso in the midfield, still pulled off a win against, albeit an undermanned Houston team.
Is there any chance you think that they could go to another dip? I mean, we've always seen expansion teams, new players like a Lundberg or any of those guys that come in and they have another dip sort of late summer when it's hot and you're traveling all the time. Is that going to happen here, you think?
I think what speaks against that is the unbelievable crowd there. You'd make the argument that is the best crowd in Major League Soccer. Toronto, great as well. DC United fans, good. But Seattle is really now have, I think, a dominant home field advantage. And when players are tired or players tend to hit a little bit of a valley, it's that crowd that can lift you up. So
that's true.
They're going to have to play some of those games on the road, though, Shep.
Yeah, they'll do fine on the road. They can also go into the international transfer market.
Well, that's
typically
right?
Expansion teams tweak their teams come July 15th.
International transfer market opens this week, as a matter of fact.
I think fortunately for them, they have few holes to fill, and really what they're going to look for if they do look to sign someone is depth. Yeah. So whereas you don't necessarily need a guy who's going to come in and be impactful right away, you need a guy who is basically, for lack of a better term, is going to just lend support to whatever positions you're shallow at.
And as you say, it's in the outside backs, and that's probably true. They're going to have to find something out there. Of course, the big story this week is the return of David Beckham to the Los Angeles Galaxy. He trained with the team on Monday. He's back. He has his first game on Thursday night in New York. Big crowd. There are lots of questions around this one, aren't there? I mean, Shep, there's, of course, the book. There's the controversy with Landon Donovan. Donovan said he's not going to talk in public anymore. David Beckham had his press conference. How's this really going to play out?
Yeah, I think it's all good, guys. First of all, you've got the right guy in charge, Bruce Arena. Nothing's going to faze him. And this off-the-field stuff, Landon, Beckham, I looked at the body language of David Beckham at the Super Classico last weekend at the Home Depot Center. He looked angry. Yeah. But that's good. It's all good. Those guys, Donovan and Beckham, are big-time players. I don't think it will affect anything on the field.
Well, they are pros, certainly, and David Beckham has always risen to the challenge when it has come. How important is it, Jason, that the team has won 3 in a row now, and they're playing well? They're in contention for the playoffs. Yeah. How does that fit into this whole mix?
It definitely makes things interesting that they have won 3 straight games, because when you're winning games like that, you don't want to change the chemistry. You don't want to change things on the field. However, I wouldn't say they're blowing teams out and they're playing great. They're kind of struggling to score goals. They're kind of struggling to create good offense. Now, if you can take David Beckham, put him out right, push Landon up top, that gives you an opportunity to score more goals, and I think that's what they need.
Well, Landon's done a lot of the creative stuff this year himself, plus they've been filling in with guys like Mike McGee, and of course Edson Buttle, once he was healthy, started to play well. Do you play David Beckham in the middle, or do you play him out wide?
Well, first of all, there's always the public has a knee-jerk reaction. When a player is big, they knock him down. And all the hoopla about David Beckham, for me, takes away from what kind of player he is. He's a great player.
He is.
I mean, the guy has the ability with a right foot to put a ball on a dime, take a free kick, take corner kicks.
And he's always worked very, very hard on the field.
So to me, it doesn't matter where he plays. As Jason said The key is the chemistry in terms of creating. LA has been very good defensively. They need David Beckham to enhance their ability to attack.
I would actually add in with Buttle and Donovan up top. Now your offense is potent, I would guess you would say. I mean, that's a good attack that they could have. Where I see the problem then is AJ De La Garza is a good defender. He's a good right back. He's not the most experienced. He's not the fastest. And now you're putting David Beckham in front of him. So is David Beckham going to bust his butt, get back on defense? We'd like to think
There's
so.
that. There's also, of course, the pressure for De La Garza. I mean, he hasn't been in the circus when Beckham's in town, and now he's playing in behind him.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be an interesting mix for the Galaxy. And I would just say that being that their defense is so much better than it was last year, they're in good shape by adding even Chris Birchall also to the midfield with Beckham.
Yeah. It's a much better LA Galaxy team than the one he came to before. So part of Beckham's frustration a year and a half ago was he would drift all the way back and pick up the ball in his own end and then look up. He is not going to have to do that now.
That's true. It's a good point. Well, the circus is back in town. On Thursday night, LA is playing at New York. It's on Fox Soccer Channel at 8 p.m. So be sure to check that one out. And also join us for our show on Wednesday, and we're going to be talking a little bit more and breaking down that game.